Bonsoir. How are you, dear friends? It's so exciting to launch JCB Live. Come and join us. We are building the most inspiring and phenomenal communities of wine lovers.
You are the wine expert. We just love wine.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Merci beaucoup.
So, Philippe, what is your passion? As we all know, wine is the catalyst of the greatest discussion. We'll be talking wine, but of course food, and naturally history, fashion, art, beauty, fragrance, everything that touches all our nation and senses. But do you see how beautiful that's going to be? So let's have a toast. Cheers. Shall we add a little Raymond wine in it?
Raymond wine, yes.
Just a little bit. Wow, look at how gorgeous this is. Cognac in the kitchen.
Brucia la terra mia e abbrucia lume cori.
You know, this is like a canvas. It's a form of art. I'm gonna go for one more too. We cannot wait to see you there and to inspire all of us and to be inspired by every one of our guests. See you soon. Cheers. Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends. Welcome to JCB Live Happy Hour. To symbolize our happy hour, woo! Welcome to our guests. Today we're welcoming the JCB 24, a very radiant and adventurous wine. Cheers to all of you being with us. We have an incredible, fascinating, talented, entrepreneurial guest today. Believe it or not, his family came in the late 1800s from Italy. How many of us dream to have Italian grandparents, settled in the United States, and lived the American dream? Coming with l'italiano accento, maravilloso. And they really started to build an incredible business that our very good friend Pete Seghesio have multiplied. And after many years of fantastic success, he had another dream to create another fantastic company named the Journeyman. He will tell us all about it. Him and his wife, Kathy, really represents the essence of what the California dream is all about. Love, passion, dedication, steward of the land, and of course, action. This is the key of life, is to meet great entrepreneurs, to share their dream and their passion, and to inspire all of us. Welcome, Pete. Buonasera.
Buonasera.
Welcome, Pete. Buonasera.
Buonasera. John Charles, how are you?
Well, I'm delighted. You see, when a Frenchman is with a fabulous Italian man, descent, even more, the best of both worlds, Italy and the United States, I'm very excited. It's so good to see you.
Oh, it's great to be with you. Great to be
So
with you.
where are you today? What is this beautiful scenery you have behind you?
I am in my kitchen. So yeah, it's a little warm outside today, and at our facility, you never know when the USDA inspector is going to show up. So it is best to do these interviews where we talk about the secrets of our salami without the inspectors around. So this is a safe area to talk about what we do in this current wonderful project we're working with.
Well, it's great to keep the secret among us, and we'll make sure that all the friends listening will keep it too. So Pete, well, first we should have a toast on wine. As you were coming in, I had a JCB, Napa Valley Bubbles from 2016, but I think we should toast with a very important wine from the Rhone River to welcome you, to bring you back your historical roots. This is a wine from Condrieu. So cheers to you. We're going to be tasting a Viognier together. And I think, as I'll talk about the wine in a moment, it's a marvelous opportunity to give everybody your unbelievable family legacy to start with.
It's through the whole process of what we have all lived through over the past 90 to 100 days, and you look at the rebel spirits of Americans, and it took a very special immigrant to leave Europe, to leave Italy, and our families, whether they were French on your side or Italian on my side, it was the courageous ones that came to America. And so I look at the Italians that came, and the French that came, and the Irish that came, all of the European immigrants that came, to me, were the best of their homelands. They were the ones with the most guts to take a chance on a new country. And we all of that heritage is not rebels, but it's a very strong, passionate, almost defiant belief and spirit that we will succeed here. And I think that is more evident with the country today. We all are a very passionate country, and we will get through all of this that we have, I think, more easily than the other countries in the world. I'm very proud to be an American of Italian descent, and I think we all come from very special places, and all of our heritage are just so beautiful and so important to the melting pot that America is and what makes it. So my grandparents came from northern Italy and southern Italy back in 1892, and then earlier on in 1860. So my mother's side of the family is Passalacqua, which means pass the water, and they were from the Passalacqua family is from southern Italy, from the Campania region, and he was Francesco Passalacqua was a cook in the gold fields, and he took his earnings from the gold fields and bought land here in Sonoma County. And I still live on the ranch that he purchased for 10 gold coins back in 1896. So we're still farming that land from my mother's side of the family. And then the side of the family that's probably more famous is the Seghesio side. Eduardo Seghesio was the youngest son of the family, decided to come to America in 1886, and he worked for Italian Swiss Colony, which at its time was just a grouping of Italian and Swiss immigrants in northern Alexander Valley. And he came at the request of Pietro Rossi. Pietro Rossi was the founder of Italian Swiss Colony, and he needed good young winemakers to come and lead his winery. And so the name Journeyman is where it's learning a trade in exchange for hospitality. And Eduardo came, already knew how to make wine, but he had to learn to make wine in America. And he basically was a journeyman winemaker. He came, he had free room and board for 6 years. At the end of his 2-3-year contract periods, he was going to go back home and marry his childhood sweetheart. And his boss said, "Que cosa fai? What are you going to do? Aspetta, wait. I have 2 beautiful nieces coming over in a couple of months. Your girlfriend back home may not love you anymore. She may not make it through immigration. Marry one of my nieces. And by the way, I will sell you some land at a reasonable price."
Well, it stays at least in the family that way, right?
Exactly. You know, my father was always, if ever I dated a girl, in my younger days, if I dated a girl that was from a farming family that had acreage, that always got the thumbs up from my dad. My dad always wanted me to date a girl that came from a wine family or vineyard family. So anyway, it was my father always made me laugh. But the boss sold him 56 acres at the home ranch in 1896. And that was the beginning of us as grape growers on the Seghesio side. Started the winery in 1902. We were one of the oldest wineries in the county, and the younger generation really it was emblematic, symbolic of what of the changes that happened throughout all of the California industry, taking antiquated production facilities, taking the old varietals and moving things to a more modern level with smaller tank fermentation, all stainless steel, all small barrique, moving away from the redwood tanks that were the dominant storage vessels in the 50s and 60s, and moving everything to a more modern way to ferment, age, and market wine. And at age 25, 22 onward, we were in full control of the winery, and it was one of the few old wineries that had new management, new control, and we hit things perfect with the evolution of California wine, and it helped move Seghesio to be one of the top the top companies of its time and of its day. And you know, I think you asked me what inspires me. I know we talked about that in the past, and I think what inspires any entrepreneur is how to make impactful change, how to make real change, how to build something that where people see the odds stacked against you, and you just want to find a way to make it work. And I think that's the great thing for me has been to be a part of real growth, real change, real evolutionary change at a time when the wine industry was changing and the current was going with us. To ride that current and be a part of that change is an incredible rush. And that I love being a part of that. And I see where we are right now. Our family decided it was a good opportunity for our family to move on and sell the family business. I was 48. And
a baby.
Huh?
You were a baby, so you were ready to do something else.
Exactly. I was too young, Jean-Charles. I was too young. And you know, my first internship was with Dario Cecchini. Dario Cecchini is one of the greatest butchers in the world. He's also one of the greatest men in the world, and just such a passionate, wonderful human being. And it seems like every Italian it has to memorize and learn Dante's Inferno. And you know, one of the key sayings in Dante's Inferno is that when Dante was going through that, he was halfway through life. And when you're working with Dario, spiritually, he brings out Dante's Inferno, and you keep thinking, I'm halfway through life. So that's how I look at it, is the meat business, which is seeing impactful change about sourcing and truly making more European style charcuterie, salumi. You know, our product is barely, our product is the most truest example of European salumi or charcuterie in America because of smaller batch fermentation, lower temperature fermentation, longer aging.
Well, so Pete, you got to explain now more in details, but I think what we got to do, you see, I've cut a few pieces. What has been very exciting with Pete, dear friends, as he transitioned after selling successfully his business, he reinvented himself to one of his first love, as he's just explained, that found inspiration in Italy to start the Journeyman Meat Company. So, Pete, I think we got to taste something meanwhile we're talking, because I'm salivating. Look, the garden was very generous. So I have the cucumber, the carrots, the onions, little tomatoes, and I have all your incredible recipe. and some of them, in fact, that we made together. So I'd love for you, as you're cutting your beautiful, Pinocchio there, to tell us in 3 words about the first wine we just had. Because nobody cannot forget that you're a wine expert. So give us 3 words that come to your mind.
I think the Condru is just wonderful baked apple. It has a wonderful baked apple component. So baked apple, and I would say there's a limestone. There's a limestone sweetness to the body of this wine that is just beautiful. And I think American wines love to try to have that trait, that limestone mineral component, but it's not a harsh limestone, it's a sweet limestone, and it's just beautiful.
Thank you. And then, so Pete, as you're cutting, explain how you build that transition. As I'm going to serve the next wine, the Châteauneuf du Pape, because I'm a big fan of Rhone with your incredible creations here. I think they go magically together. But as you open the bottle, a lot of people today are looking for inspiration. You touched on it, but please develop on your inspiration and how you got started, again, in a new business with such a great positioning, great success, because we are doing a lot of great things together. Since we bought the Oakville Grocery, I want everybody to know the 5 unbelievable salumi that you could taste, or saucisson, are made by Pete and his incredible team in his great production facility in Geyserville, which is north of Hillsburg in lovely Sonoma. So Pete, tell us about what inspired you and how you got started again, because you're a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, yes, serial entrepreneur. It's tough on marriages, Jean-Charles, but my wife is, we've been married 27 years, and God bless her for putting up with me. So
yeah, she called me before the interview and she said, please make sure he says that, because without me, nothing would have happened. Kisses, Kathy.
My father always wanted me to learn how to make prosciutto, and my father was the one that first taught me how to make salamette. These little salamis. This would be salamette, meaning a small salami, and so it was my father's. It was him teaching me how to make salami the first time when I must have been 12 or 13 years old. And the old Italian family farming community, which we really saw Geyserville North, so northern Alexander Valley, they would always have 1 or 2 hogs that they would harvest after harvest. And so come November or early December, we would all harvest the family hog. We would butcher the hog, we would make fresh sausage, and then a portion of it we would make into little salamette. And we would, back in the olden days, we were using higher percentages of salt, and so that would allow the salami to just cure and dry that way. And in the winter months, in Alexander Valley, in the old cellars, our cellars back then were built back turn of the century. They're very cold, but they're higher humidity, and so it works well to make salami. So that's when you saw the Italians and the old farming families do it. They make fresh sausage, but a portion was made into salami. My dad always wanted me to learn professionally how to do it, and also how to do whole muscle.
So in your roots, in your DNA, and so it was a child dream to do this?
Yes, it was a dream that started as a child, but it's a dream that continued to gnaw on me every year in the wine industry. every year in the wine industry, we had taken Seghesio to what we thought was the highest level, and there wasn't the evolutionary or the expansive changes. I found it more challenging to be running a company that was now on top, as opposed to a company that was fighting against the odds and trying to go up. And so it's just that wanting to learn professionally how to do it was always something that I began working on, trying to learn more. And I just never had the time. So after the sale, I was able to go to Italy, and I worked for Dario for 2 months, and then was able to work with the Marini family after working with Dario. But I worked with the Marini family every February for 5 years. And Marini is out of Florence, one of Italy's oldest Salumificios, one of the oldest salumi producers in northern Italy, and just learned how they make it, and the fermentation regimes and the aging regimes, the conditions, the temperatures. It's the same as what I learned from Marini. So our product, most people don't know this, but the similarities between salumi or charcuterie and wine, very similar. Ultimately, what drives quality is the highest quality ingredients. How are all of those ingredients manicured and farmed and taken care of and routinely preserved? But it's also how much sugar you add, what's the bacteria that you use. We ferment. Salami is a fermented product, so we ferment. Most people in America ferment at 90 to 100 degrees, which exponentially makes the salami go very fast. So
I see.
When you taste tangy salami, that means it was fermented fast. And we like, it's like the difference between barrel fermented Chardonnay and stainless steel fermented Chardonnay. The stainless steel fermented Chardonnay tends to be very simple. A barrel fermented Chardonnay with native yeast, much longer, slower process, but
That's right.
a lot more nuances, a lot more butteriness, a lot more nuttiness, a lot more layers of complexity. And that's what you see when you have a longer, slower fermentation with salami. Your pore size is smaller. So smaller pores means it's going to age longer. So, the big guys can make a chub like this in 12 days. For us at Journeyman, it takes us 30 days. So,
30 days.
Process.
But Pete, just for our friends, this is an amazing story. So you take your passion, because obviously meat became your passion, right?
Yes.
You went to Italy, to the people you knew, and you said, hire me for a few months a year, let me discover your secrets, and then, you learn everything, and then you decided to start your own business after that. Is it how it worked?
Yes, it's yes, that Jean-Charles, that's how it worked. It was.
That's amazing.
We were lucky to have wonderful relationships with family and professional relationships from the wine world that got me connected with Dario and got me connected with Marini. Those relationships came from our relationships that our family has in Italy. And it is, you are against big industry. You are against big industry in the meat world more so than the wine business. One of the great things I admire about you and your companies is that you preserve the small artisan, ultra high quality brands.
Thank you.
And that's all we're trying to do with Journeyman is drive quality, and make a wonderful artisanal brand. But there is no, in the meat industry, there is no favoritism for the small producer. It's thousands of dollars on validation studies and things to support the products that we make. It's incredibly expensive, and it's very, very challenging to do that. And so, you know, I think USDA, from a USDA standpoint, you know, we push the limits. We have to show that we can have the pH in meat shift due to fermentation, because we're producing acid with fermentation. We have to drop the pH within 48 hours to under 5.3. And most people will add a lot of sugar and use the most commercially efficient bacteria to make that fermentation change. That makes tangy, boring salami. So, but when you do it with the true Italian cultures and you use different strains of sugar that are less powerful, but it's for quality, then you run into the risk of the salami not meeting the USDA requirements, and then you have to throw it out. So there's a lot of challenges to thread the needle to have it be legal, but be true in the European character. It's very challenging. But that's what is a rush. That's what's fun.
Well, Pete Seghesio is known how to be persistent, have discipline, and is in constant search of quality. That's why, Pete, I was so excited when I heard you started the Journeyman. And I think we need to taste, and you need to describe a little bit the products, because what would you recommend with a Châteauneuf du Pape? So I have them all. So dear friends, Pete has made an incredible selection for the Oakville grocery. And I'm excited about it because Pete had the brilliant idea to say to us, Jean-Charles, what about if we add a little bit of one of your wine for each of those, part of the recipe to add your character, your personality, and the personality of the winery. And Pete, you know what I'm so admirative is all the steps you followed. It could be managed by a large firm, but you represent quality. And I'd like to say to everybody listening, the Journeyman is the charcuterie, the meat you need to have, because always remember, one of my favorite philosophers of the 19th century is Brigas-Savarin. He said, tell me what you eat, and I'll tell you who you are. And I think it's so important. When I taste those saucissons, the finocchiana, and obviously the Italian salami, I vibrate, Pete, of excitement. So you see me shaking, and it's a food orgasmic moment. So give us that moment right now, because, you know, all of us here in the kitchen are looking at me and they're jealous because I'm tasting. So maybe, Pete, do you want to start with the Italian saucisson?
Yeah, I think the saucisson stack is a classic French recipe, and it's just salt, pepper, garlic, and your wine, the passion. But you know, I love the smoothness and the silkiness of all four of these charcuterie will have the silkiness and the smoothness, and will not exhibit the terrible tang that you see with most American salumi, most American charcuterie.
Well, and I came close to the camera, Pete, because I want people to understand the details of that beautiful piece of meat. So explain how it's made. And I know we have a few images that will as well be shown of your incredible facility that you've built from scratch. That is mind-boggling and so quality-oriented, because people need to be very cautious of what they put in their mouth. And this is quality, dear friends. This is the top. So tell us about it.
So this is all heritage pork. It's all Duroc, so it's all purebred pork, and it's from a combination of farms from Northern California, Northern Washington State, and Western Iowa. And it's primarily it's going to be the whole shoulder, the front shoulder of the animal, and these are all pasture-raised animals. And then the fat, the white, is pack fat. And it's a specific farm called Klingeman Ranch out of northern Washington. And the fat the fat, the Italians will tell you the fat is almost more important than the meat. The fat, if you use corn-raised hogs, the fat is more malleable. What we have found is that to get the driest and the fat that is the firmest and the most pearly white, it's from barley finished hogs up along the Canadian border. There's more barley up in the northern part of the US, and so barley finished hogs for the fat component, which is about 18% of the mixture. And we experimented for over 2 years, but that is the best fat in the country, and it is high quality fat. Costs more than meat. It's that rare to be able to use this one specific fat source. And you know, the spices with salami, 10% is going to be spice ingredients or non-pork ingredients. So when we look at the wine, we look at the salt, the pepper, the fennel, whatever the spice components that we use, those spices are going to range from anywhere from 8 to 12%. And that, if you go above 12%, then the salami won't bind. But
Okay.
salami like saucisson sec, very simple, that are going to be 6-7%. But then sopressata, which is going to have Calabrian chili, sweet smoked paprika, more complexity, more ingredients, that spice level is going to be more. But one of the neat things is that in all of our salami, they're all made with local wines. Obviously, the Oakville ones are made with wines from your family, Jean-Charles, but they're all at about 2%. So 2%
That's great.
of the, by weight, it being wine, when that 2% is dehydrated 35-40%, and that's how much liquid we lose from the drying and aging process. That salami is going to, if we stuff a chub at 11 ounces raw, we end up with a chub at about 6.5 ounces. So it's a good 40-45% weight loss from the aging process. So
That's a very large amount. Wow.
it concentrates that wine. So that wine really comes through as an important ingredient, flavor ingredient in the final process.
And you know, Pete, I need to tell you, I sent it to my parents who make their own saucisson with their friends, as you know, in Burgundy, and they were elated by the one you created. The Italian salami is their favorite with that JCB passion of the Cabernet, the Cap Franc, and the Merlot. They obviously loved as well, I need to tell you, and I'd love your opinion on the Châteauneuf du Pape, of course, which is Grenache and Syrah, Mourvèdre, and a little bit of Cinsault. I'd love your ultimate pairing for this wine. What do you think is the best of your salami to go with it?
Jean-Charles, I haven't tried the Gigondas, but I think, you know, with the grip that the Châteauneuf du Pape has, I think the Finocchiona or the Parmigiano Porcini one, because of the higher tannin in the Châteauneuf, I think the Parmigiano Porcini or the Finocchiona both would be incredible with it. I like the, you know, I don't know if you can see it with my camera, but this is
Gorgeous.
You can see the yellow. The white is the back fat from Clinton,
Yeah.
Washington State, but you can see the yellow. That is a chunk of Parmesan cheese, and
Yes.
that's cool. I think that's
Just to show everybody how consistent you are. And you know what I'm going to do? What the hell? I'm on a diet. Oh!
But we put a lot of the cheese in this one. We love it. Love it.
Chewy, powerful, very flavorful, and I love the idea of the Parmesan together. So Pete, as we're talking, and we're going to taste the last wine, we have a few more minutes, explain everyone what inspires you. Because your introduction was incredible and you gave so many great advice and suggestions and lessons of life. I've always found you, as I've known you for, I must say, close to 20 years now, seen you speak publicly at tables, winemaker events, and you're always very inspirational. So tell everyone what drives you, what inspires you?
I think, John Charles, what inspires me is not to do something that can't be done. It's to build something. I'm sure it's in you. You like to build something. You like to create something. And when in my previous life, to have an idea of the wine that we want to make and then plant the vineyard and have that come to fruition 6-7 years later is a rush, because you're planting the vineyard, you're thinking of the concept of the wine, you're thinking of the label. But that is the same thing with Salumi, because we know our raw ingredients. We can move those raw ingredients. We still haven't tried any dried fruit in Salumi, and that's for our club. That's something we're working on for some of our club releases for next year. We're working right now.
So the club is named the Journeyman Meat, and it's a every other month, right? And you ship meat all across the United States and the world.
It's every quarter, Jean Charles. It's like this, but it would have two chubs, one new chub, one new recipe, and one of our core selections. So we're coming off doing some wonderful R&D with Russian River Brewery. I'm sure you know those folks.
Very well.
Incredible beer. And so we have a wonderful Pliny the Salumi coming in September. So anytime you have what inspires me is the opportunity to make something new and give it to the marketplace. And our meat guild is just a wonderful way to give our members and our friends R&D products that have not been out there, that are made just for them. But to create 4 new products a year, that's what I love, when you're able to build new things, and along with taking care of your existing core selection of meats. It's just
I love you. So what inspires you is creation. So as we're not going to be able to try them all, describe one more that you love and you're the most proud of all the Salumi you have in front of you. And I'm going to get my corkscrew for the next one.
I think the Finocchiona is probably the one I'm most proud of from a European standpoint. I know the Consulate General, the Italian Consulate General of San Francisco has said it's the greatest Finocchiona that he's tried in America. But and wild fennel is grows all over Sonoma County and Napa for that matter. And so it is always a favorite, but I really, if I had to choose, if I'm on a desert isle, John Charles, and I have to choose between the Finocchiona, the Sec, or the Sopressata, I'm probably going to go with the Sopressata. The Sopressata has, what's funny is the older I get, the more I like spice. I'm not crazy about ghost peppers, and the new generation really likes a lot of heat. I don't want that much heat, but I find as I'm getting older, I like things a little bit spicier. And so the Sopressata, more and more over time, is where my own palate is drifting toward.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I'm a little worried here. Besides Salumi on a desert island, would you have Kathy as well, or is the Salumi more important? Forgive me, I didn't hear too well.
Kathy, always number one. Kathy on the island first.
Excellent.
Then
Salumi. Well, this one is amazing, I agree. So now I just poured a Gigondas, and Pete, you may not know this house that you're tasting today. Maison Boischon is one of the oldest Rhone Valley house, founded in the 19th century. And this house has been producing the first barrels of the Rhone Valley, as well as one of the most spectacular Gigondas, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and of course, Southern Rhone. So I'd love to get your opinion on the last wine. And then I'm going to ask you two more exciting questions, if it's okay with you.
I think the wine, this one has a wonderful blueberry, cherry, black cherry, currant fruit component that is very dominant, really beautiful. It has great structure. It seems to have slightly softer tannin, big wine still, and it's a very strong fruit component. I love that. I really love that a lot.
So thank you so much, Pete. And I'm so glad it's very distinct. And I'm so glad we will finish as well with one of your wine just right after, which is your family estate, Zinfandel. But before that, you've talked about inspiration. You've talked about passion. You've talked about your origin, your roots. You've talked about your sense of entrepreneurship, of family. Pete, you're very wise, as I've always had this image of you as wise and thoughtful. What message would you have for others during this time and for the younger generation in general who, like you, have big ideas?
I think it is, I think we are all in this together. There is nothing more true than what we are living through, to know that we are all in this together. And we all need to, I look back, I think we were all getting a little bit over our skis a little bit too far.
Yeah.
And I think we need to remember we've got to help bring everybody along. We're all in this together, and we have to be not forgiving, but we all I think we all have to be a little more patient. And I think this pandemic, I think, is grounding all of us to just, we have to be a little more patient. We have to get along. We have to, see each other's side on things and just try to help move the ball down the field for all of us. That's all.
Well said. Well said. And taking our time to spend time at the family table, have discussions like you had, I'm sure, with your grandfather, your parents, you as a child, and spending time with generations, with cousins, and giving time to get to know one another and to spend time. Literally the way we very fortunately, you and I were raised in farms or on estates or vineyards, and we have this connection to nature, this connection to one another, and I think that's a very good advice. Pete, I have one more question, and I think you should pour your last wine. And the fantastic Zinfandel that you have in front of you, because everybody ought to know, if you don't already know, Pete has been literally the most iconic maker of Zinfandel in California. And I've learned Zinfandel, luckily, by drinking a lot of his wines, older vines, younger vines. And you probably know Zinfandel was brought in the United States by the Count of Buena Vista in the late 1850s, and has been really the Italian-based but US produced, fantastic grape variety of all time. And we don't produce Zinfandel anywhere else. So as you tell us about your last wine, which is a Zinfandel, and I'll let you describe it, Pete, give us the dream now, because the theme always of our JCB Live is let's share our passion and let's share our dreams. Give us as well, in addition to the wine, the dream that you have not yet accomplished, that you wish to do.
There is, probably the biggest. There's probably two, Jean-Charles. One is to Journeyman is to help train an artisan in exchange for hospitality. And with the pandemic, we haven't been able to have people come from the old world. We started out with what each year the original concept and we were doing it is to have a candidate come from Italy or France and take care of them for a year. They learn our way of making meat in America, and then they go back. And
That's great.
We had Samuele Grigioni, who was one of Dario's men in his cutting room, and he joined us. We had him here for a year. We took care of him. Incredible. And with the pandemic, we had another candidate we were going to bring, but we weren't able to do that with what is hit. So I want to make sure we get back and make that really happen. And we want to do that with American kids as well. We want to bring in someone that we can help be a better person, teach them a skill, and help move things up and help them move their career up.
Congratulations. So helping others, exchanging know-how, savoir-faire, and really bring that up to the next generations.
To the next generation. My father would always have exchange students from Italy, France, Switzerland that would come live with us for a year and then go home. But then they're friends forever. So when our kids are older, our kids go there. So with Marini, we are bringing their son hopefully next summer. Now he's supposed to come this summer, but Marini's son will hopefully be coming next summer. So we can. So it's building what we did is what my parents did, which was cross-cultural exchange, and it's helping youth learn and elevate their skills. So that's, from a philosophical, that's an important thing that has been stopped because of the pandemic. So we want that to come back. And then probably the biggest disappointment making cured meat is Culatello. Culatello has broken my heart. And we have thrown out hundreds of pounds of Culatello. Hundreds of pounds.
Not easy to make.
Not easy to make. Not easy to make. So we do an incredible copa. We do incredible lomo. Rocchioli. Tom Rocchioli has a wonderful Rocchioli recipe. We're doing a Rocchioli lomo in addition to our lomo. Our copas are incredible. We have a French copa, an Italian copa, a hot copa. But Culatello is the one that we are still not there yet on. So we need.
So your wildest dream is to improve one of your meat. I thought it was going to move with Kathy on a desert island with a Zinfandel and a beautiful saucisson, but I guess not.
Well, maybe when I'm 60. Maybe when I'm 60. But
we have another 30 years to wait, right? Because we are forever young. So Pete, we need to close on this amazing Zinfandel that you have. And you should tell us a few words and show us the beautiful label, because we can find it at the Journeyman in Hillsburg on the square.
I need to give it to you. Yeah, it's in our little shop in just north of the square in Hillsburg. And yeah, Jean-Charles, we should get you some for Oakville. This
Absolutely. Consider it done. It will be available by the end of the week.
There you go. This is the 2018. This comes out in September. It is half Zinfandel. The other half is Alicante, Grand Noir, Petite Syrah, Negrette, a little bit of Mataro, and Alicante. So it's half Zin, the other half is mixed reds, but it was planted turn of the century, somewhere right around 1892, 1894. There's 5 acres of it, and we call it the Pearl because it was my mother's favorite part of her vineyard. And we make 100 cases. And, you know, Zinfandel in this area, its roots come from Italy. It's related to Primitivo. But here, the influx of the fog in Sonoma County buffers our daytime temperature, so it doesn't overripe like it does in other parts of the world. So Zinfandel in Sonoma County is, to me, the best in the world.
Yeah,
because of
by far.
in the climate that we have.
Well, very exciting. Pete, I want to thank you so much for being who you are, because we haven't seen you in a few months, obviously, because of all of this. And dear friends, I cannot wait for you, as you're going to see the pictures now, of Pete's amazing facility, his dedication to love, his passion for quality, his incredible commitment for terroir, for family, for legacy, for continuity, for education. I mean, you heard he's very inspirational as well. So, Pete, I want to thank you so much for being with us at JCB Live. I cannot wait for us to visit physically again and have excessive food, excessive wine, excessive discussion, because we live in excess with discipline. And that's what brings us together always. So, dear friends, the fabulous, the incredible, the most wonderful leader, Pete Seghesio. Thank you, Pete, and buonasera.
Thank you. Buonasera.
Buonasera.